America is the land of opportunity, or at least that's what we're told. But in some places, there are very few opportunities, and the only way to get ahead is to leave. In this video, we're taking a look at the 5 cities in the United States with the highest poverty rates, according to data from the Census Bureau. These are communities with a population of at least 5,000, and I excluded those with prisons or colleges because both prisoners and students get counted where they sleep and it skews the data. So without further ado, Number 5, River Rouge, Michigan. River Rouge is now a small community of just 7,040, but it is also a Detroit suburb. At its peak, this city boasted a population of over 20,000 back in 1950. Part of the reason for the loss of residents is due to a lack of jobs. This has been an industrial community for quite some time, and many of the companies in the area send their jobs overseas. Manufacturing currently accounts for 20.4% of the jobs in River Rouge. Another reason people have left is due to pollution. The Rouge River, for which the city is named, was once so polluted that it caught on fire, and it's known for being the most polluted river in the state of Michigan. Between Henry Ford setting up a factory along the river, other companies doing the same, and land runoff, the river turned into a mix of toxic fumes and oil slicks. It got so bad that people were warned not to come into contact with the water. In fact, one man who accidentally fell into the river in 1985 contracted rat fever and died. That sounds like a horrible way to go, if you ask me. In Michigan, 91.8% of the adults over the age of 25 have graduated from high school, but in River Rouge, it's just 80.1%. Most employers require a diploma, so that's holding back a large chunk of the population. Some employers also ask for applicants to have a college degree, but only 8.1% of the adults here have one, compared to the state rate of 31.1%. When you can't get a decent job, you don't make much money, so the median household income in this community is just $26,343. To put that into perspective, the median household income for the state of Michigan is $68,505, and for the United States, it's $75,149. So with a low income, River Rouge has an insanely high poverty rate of 43.8%. That's almost 4 times the US rate and more than 3 times the Michigan rate. This is a white minority city with only 33.1% listed on the census as white non-Hispanic. The remaining population demographics are 46.3% Black, 0% Asian, 15.5% Hispanic or Latino, 16.1% 2 or more races, and only 0.2% American Indian or Alaska Native. There's one very specific reason for the demographic makeup in River Rouge. According to information I found on Michigan State University's website, prior to 1939, the Detroit area, including its suburbs, had a racially diverse population, but the United States federal government did not see that as being a positive thing. So they decided to send in appraisers to rank the various neighborhoods and communities in an act that we now refer to as redlining. According to MSU, just a small handful of communities in Highland Park and Grosse Pointe were assigned a green rating. Wealthier non-immigrant white neighborhoods were given blue ratings. The neighborhoods that were made up of immigrants from the same country were labeled yellow, and neighborhoods with any black families, regardless of income or housing quality, as well as neighborhoods with a diversity of immigrants, were labeled red. Can you guess which rating River Rouge received? At the time, this community was comprised of Black and Polish residents, so this suburb was redlined. By assigning different color ratings to neighborhoods and communities, it kept immigrants and African Americans from living in more desirable areas, by giving the FHA the ability to deny home loans to people based on the color of their skin and where they were trying to buy a home. Redlining was outlawed in 1968 with the Fair Housing Act, but the effects are still felt and seen today. According to the University of Michigan's School of Public Health, redline neighborhoods continue to suffer from poorer health outcomes than the greenline communities, as well as economic inequality, including lower incomes and lower rates of homeownership, which is exactly what you see in River Rouge. Number 4, Orange Cove, California. Situated in the foothills of the Sierra Nevada mountains, Orange Cove is a community of just 9,525. If, when you heard this town's name, you pictured row after row of orange trees, you wouldn't be far off. This is one community that is aptly named, where the growing of oranges, lemons, and other citrus fruits dominates the economy. This type of work falls into the category of agriculture, forestry, fishing, and hunting, which accounts for 44.8% of the jobs in the area. Unfortunately, those jobs don't seem to pay very well because the median household income in Orange Cove is just $33,671. That's just a little more than 1/3 of the state's amount. Granted, California is home to quite a few millionaires, thanks to the film and music industries, so the state median of $91,905 is considerably higher than the national rate of $75,149, but still. When the median household income is so low, it's not much of a surprise to find that Orange Cove has a 46.5% poverty rate. Most of the people living in Orange Cove have to turn to low-wage work because only 44.5% have graduated from high school and just 6.7% have a college degree. Another thing about this place that is different from other communities is that it's almost completely made up of one group. Orange Cove is 96.1% Hispanic or Latino, 2.2% white, 1.5% black, and 0.1% Asian. Also, 36.1% of the residents are foreign born. What we can take from all of these stats is that the community is mostly immigrant farm laborers who have come to the U.S. to try to make better lives for themselves. Number 3, Camilla, Georgia. Camilla is a black majority city now, but historically, being a person of color has been dangerous here. The Reconstruction era was particularly tough. Shortly after Georgia was admitted back into the Union, the state constitution was updated to allow black citizens the right to vote. Despite intimidation tactics from a group with a ridiculous name that sounds like the Blue Bloods Plan, with this newfound right, they voted for people with their interests in mind, so a group of African Americans, referred to as the Original 33, was sent to serve as members of the Georgia General Assembly. That didn't sit very well with some of the white legislators, as you can imagine, so they conspired to oust the Original 33 just a few months later in September 1868. One of the expelled legislators led a 25-mile march to Camilla, but the marchers were fired upon in what has been dubbed by historians as the Camilla Massacre. Several people died or were injured as a result. Fast forward 94 years, and a group of civil rights activists found themselves jailed in Camilla. Some of their fellow activists held a rally, and it resulted in police attacking and beating some of the protesters, including a pregnant woman who suffered a miscarriage due to her injuries. According to the last census data, Camilla's population of 5,152 is 68.1% black, 18.8% white, 6.4% Hispanic or Latino, and 8.4% two or more races. But the city's history of racism still finds ways of affecting its citizens today. It wasn't until 2018 that a fence separating blacks and whites in the cemetery was removed, for one thing. For another, according to a press release from former Mayor Rufus Davis in 2017, the schools are still essentially segregated, with 99% of the white students going to a private school while the black students attend the public schools. It's doubtful that they're all receiving equal education, so maybe that's why only 80.2% of the adult residents have a high school diploma, and why only 8.1% have graduated from college. Adding to the misery is lack of decent jobs. The local economy at one point was dependent on agriculture, but there has been a decline in those sorts of jobs, so now the city's residents struggle with finding employment opportunities. I've been looking up statistics on communities for about 4 years now, and this is the first time that wholesale trade has been the top industry for a city. I found that there are several companies in Camilla that are classified as farm product raw material merchant wholesalers, specializing in grains, peanuts, and pecans, among other things. Administrative and support and waste management services is in the number 2 spot, which is also weird. The median household income in Camilla is only $27,306, compared to the Georgia median of $71,355, so that's why 46.7% of the residents fall below the poverty line. Number 2, Quincy, Florida. Many Americans dream of retiring and relocating to Florida for the sunny weather and relaxed lifestyle, but I would recommend that those people stay away from the small city of Quincy. Every bad thing that I just said about Camilla, Georgia can also be said for Quincy, Florida, but worse. This is a community that once levied poll taxes to disenfranchise voters and where public extrajudicial demonstrations of Caucasians taking the lives of others who had more melanin for made-up infractions were a common occurrence, if you know what I mean. The largest industry for Quincy residents is public administration, but that's because this city of 7,719 is located in the Florida Panhandle near Tallahassee, the state capital, so some of the employed residents work for the state government. The second largest industry is educational services, so I'm guessing the 16.5% of the residents who graduated from college work in these two industries. The high school graduation rate is only 73.8%, so that makes it harder to find a job that pays a living wage, which is part of why the median household income is only $33,786, and the poverty rate is 46.7%. As for the city's demographics, the residents are 65.3% black, 15% white, 20.9% Hispanic or Latino, and 3% two or more races. Quincy has also grappled with health issues among its residents, particularly the HIV epidemic, as seen in this article from 2003. The Florida Department of Health's website shows that it is still a serious problem for this part of the state. As of 2022, there were 264 cases in Gadsden County, where Quincy is located. When the COVID pandemic hit, many other health issues were highlighted. In Gadsden County, 1/3 of the black women and 1/4 of the county's overall population have been diagnosed with diabetes. Heart disease and lung cancer rates are also higher in this area than in other parts of the state. They rank 65 out of Florida's 67 counties for health outcomes. Part of this is due to the lack of medical providers in the county. The patient to primary care physician ratio in this county is 4,566 to 1. It also doesn't help that almost 20% of Quincy's residents are uninsured. Number 1, Donaldsonville, Louisiana. The state of Louisiana has quite a few issues overall, including a higher than average poverty rate, but by far the poorest community in the state, as well as in the country, is Donaldsonville. This city of 6,841 has an interesting history. It was once the capital of Louisiana from 1829 to 1831, before it was moved back to New Orleans, before finally relocating to Baton Rouge. Part of Donaldsonville was then destroyed during the Civil War. After the war, Donaldsonville became the first city in the U.S. to elect an African American mayor in 1868. At that time, this was the third largest black community in Louisiana, but they also had quite a Jewish population. Donaldsonville is home to one of the oldest synagogue buildings in the country. It was in use from 1872 to the 1940s, and there is a Jewish cemetery dating back to the 1800s in the city. Sadly, Donaldsonville is a dangerous place to live. Violent crimes are 95% higher than the national average, which makes it safer than just 8% of American cities. If you choose to live there, the chance of becoming a victim is 1 in 26. According to one resident, the problem with Donaldsonville is that it's been neglected by both city and state leaders, and it certainly seems that way. There was a survey done in 2020 that had Donaldsonville listed as the second worst place to live in the U.S. Unfortunately, things have gotten even worse since then. At the time, they had a poverty rate of 39.4%. Now, it's 47.4% of the residents who live below the poverty line. Low-wage jobs in retail and accommodations and food service make up 36.3% of the job market in this area, so the median household income is only $22,110. Typically, educational services will be in the top 5 industries for a community, but in Donaldsonville, those jobs only account for 5.06% of the economy, so I'm guessing that the school system leaves a lot to be desired. Maybe that's why 12.5% of the adults over 25 have dropped out of high school, and only 11.6% went on to earn a college degree. I hope you enjoyed this video. I put a lot of effort into it. If so, you might also like one of these videos. If you really liked it, consider becoming a member of the channel. I have a ton of videos that are for members only. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I remain stuck in the cornfield.